Good morning. Good morning, friends. Morning coffee talk, Tuesday, sometime in October. I have been pondering and in a space lately, in this space of transition, and really the space that I've been really sitting in all year, in all forms, is going through some pretty big changes in life. It's kind of like the after effects of the fall. So you've got the tower that falls and everything crumbles. You got the assessing of the crumble, and then you've got the work that comes in rebuilding. And I talk so much about micro and macro, what happens internally, what happens within your own sphere and world, and how that reverberates and how we can see these different things in the world around us. And again, going back to the space of transition, if we bravely step into change, no matter how needed that change was, no matter how necessary or good or better the change and shift was, it's not easy. Even if you're an old pro at change and rebuild, it's never easy. And sometimes it seems that it gets more and more complicated. I guess it's leveling up, right? That comes with age, that comes with experience, it comes with the bigger that we go, the more advanced that mountain sometimes feels. And I think about the space of gratitude that I'm in that I have a space and a community of people that surround me that are open and honest, and we talk about these things. Like, there are things that have been historically kept in secrets and shame and hiding because they have been shown to us as bad, I guess, right? We're not following the mold, we're not following the protocol of everything. But just because it's not what has been seen or done or experienced before doesn't make it bad. I want to talk about a topic that is not talked about, at least not that I've seen, and that is the word divorce. The ending of stories, the completion of relationships and cycles, and all that it brings. No matter what intention and no matter what reason or place that we're in for these changes, for this kind of change, it's never easy. I don't think it is. And I will be honest in saying that I entered that space, I entered this time, I would say, would I say naively, or I'll say maybe innocently, expecting and hoping for a very easy transition. And it's not. It's never easy. you can have ease and flow, but there's always challenge attached to it because there's one thing about conceptualizing and thinking through how things can be. It's another thing to be living through it, and especially when there are other humans and souls and feelings and woundings and all of the things kind of tied into it. Especially now, right? We are in a new time. We are in a new way. We are in a new everything. And sometimes I feel there's great progress and release that can be made from telling our stories. And this is, the story is long, the story is novels, right? Each and every one of us holds that within us. But this is the kind of just overall message, I guess, that I want to impart at this moment in time is all of it's okay, right? Like, if I can see this, because sometimes when that swirl and that fear and all of it, well, I'd say the fog, right? The fog is so dense. It feels like we're going to exist and live in this fog forever. And I've had continuous talks with myself in reassurance that the fog in this moment is temporary. There is always something on the other side when we can make it through. And it's like I liken it. I like to take kind of analogies. Like, one of them is, I always get myself into. I'm not a person who just kind of like researches and decides, and it's like, oh, I feel like doing this, let's do it, okay. And then you're in the middle of it and you're like, what the fuck did I just get myself into? And it's like, well, we're in it now, got to get through. And then you get to the other side and you're like, whoa, what an experience. There was this one cave that we stumbled upon one year over in Enchanted Rock. And it's like, we saw people coming in, we saw people coming out. We're like, let's check it out. Not prepared. We had our cell phones on us, that's it. And we walk into this cave, and it's pitch black. Like, you can see nothing inside of it. And it's not like, oh, I'm just going to walk through this cave in this path. No, there were leaps and bounds and holes and climbing and all of these different maze-like things that we had to take through this cave. And you're in it, and you're like, you see people coming up behind you, and you're like, well, I can't go back. The only way out is through. And so you go through. You white knuckle it through sometimes, and sometimes you laugh, and sometimes you don't think you're going to make it, and then you get to the other side, and you're like, oh, whoo, like, that was harrowing, but I'm so glad we did it. That's kind of the space that I feel like I'm in right now, in the middle of that cave, with my lone little flashlight on my phone, with my core set of people with me, saying, keep going, keep going, keep going, you got this. I always wondered how, I could never understand how, with marriage, how people can go from a place of entering into that relationship, that commitment, and how it could turn so ugly. How's that possible? You hold the person, And you want to do, how is that possible? Now that I'm in it, I see it. It's hard because there's a lot of things that come up in such a situation. Old woundings, fear, survival, starting over, wanting to hold on to things that you once had, not in terms of relationship, but I would say maybe more insecurity. There's ego, there's pride, there is this whole concept that we have so deeply ingrained in us of one person has to end up ahead and one person has to end up a little bit worse off. That's just the way it is. And I'll be damned if I'm not that person who's ending up ahead, right? Like, there are all of these human, real factors that are in this world. Plus, you've got legalities and you've got all the bullshit that this outside control world puts in it as well. It's not as easy as one would think. And you can go through it in an unconscious way where you're going on impulse, you're reacting to feelings, you're choosing unknowingly, subconsciously, the cycles that you know. Or you can work through it where you're approaching it consciously. And that second option's freaking hard, I'm not gonna lie. Because those base instincts are strong. They are so, so strong. So how can you maintain all of those plates and balls in the air of trying to maintain peace and civility and amicability while also holding firm and standing in, I don't know. I'm figuring it out. But the thing that confounds me is that, one, these things are not talked about. Two, I don't know if, and maybe that's just me making mass assumptions on lives that I don't know, but I can speak for myself personally that there's so much shame around divorce. There's so much feelings of failure, and because of this fairy tale of the way it's supposed to be that's been handed to us, that doesn't even make sense. And so we suffer in silence. We get through it. Some better, some worse, some, I don't know, I kind of tend to feel like when you make this kind of change, it's probably for the better of all, but that's my own feeling. That takes some work and some healing that goes with it as well, but I don't know, I feel like as I am a lot of months into this transition, more worn, more wise, more aware, I feel that I don't know. I just, maybe this is just for myself, but I feel like it's really nice to hear that there's always a through. There's always an end point. There's always a moment where the clouds and the fog breaks And we can take a breath and say, oh. So what I'm practicing is working my best to do those things, to really go through the filter of motivation, to hold space and distance, because another thing that nobody talks about with this is all the stuff that comes up after, all of the memories that are seen with a different perspective, witnessing and experiencing how many ways we've abandoned ourselves and our knowing, trying to fit. Like, there's just a lot of things that come up. And I hope that we're properly honoring ourselves as we do, whether it's, no matter what the transition is, no matter what it looks like. We can put this face forward of, I'm doing okay, my life is great, it's beautiful, living my best life. Or, I don't know, for me, I am happy to share that vantage of reality, the other side of it that comes with it. Because yes, it can be all of those things, and it is all of those things. And also, it's hard. It is hard. And there's no changing that. So I honor and I love and I hold for those who are not having that seen. Because I'm recognizing how important it has been for me to have people in community that does that for me. And I recognize that not everybody does. It's an extreme privilege. So, yeah, I have a deep reverence for human and how we are all really and just doing our best with what we have, and we have been given just a really poor set of instructions. And I kind of feel like this is a whole other topic about Gen X, where we are, as it's very important to step into a very different role. I don't know. That's a space that I hold. So, through the fog, y'all. The only way out is through, and there is always a through. So that is this morning's very long message. Have a beautiful day.